Hey, MotoAmerica fans, this is Jake Gagne. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the MotoAmerica YouTube channel for more coverage, and like, comment. Let's go.
It's the Geico Motorcycle Superbike Speed Fest at Monterey, round 5 of the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship from WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in Monterey, California. And we are setting the stage for the SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup category, where this rider, Tyler Scott, in his first season in MotoAmerica competition, is leading this championship, and he has been fast since he rolled that motorcycle off the truck. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast booth. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time world champ Jason Pridmore. Now, Jason, Tyler Scott has been fast, but there's other riders that are hot on his heels here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
No question. Ben Glotti is going to be that guy that's trying to bring the fight, but Tyler Scott so far since he rolled that KTM out of the rig here at Laguna has been incredibly fast. Set a really fast time this morning in qualifying. Those guys got a little bit of work to do.
Well, look, last time, if you joined us, you saw that Max Toth had a big incident with Cody Wyman. Jason, talk us through what happened.
Well, he just got off the edge of the track, didn't he, Greg? And he was tossed it right in front of everybody. And I tell you right now, when you see this accident and you really look at it in slow motion, talking to Cody Wyman, he literally had nowhere to go. He tried everything he could to not run over Max Toth, but Cody did run him over. And as it would be, he actually broke his hand. He didn't break any part of his legs. He did break his hand. He had a small surgery on that, but we were just happy to see him get up.
We certainly were. Obviously, he's not racing this weekend, but he is here. And the third member of our broadcast team, Hannah Lopa, had a chance to catch up with Max Toth.
Greg, absent from the grid here this weekend is Maxwell Toth, who had a pretty rough crash last round at the Ridge. Tell us a little bit about what happened, your injury, and kind of the recovery time.
Yeah, so I ended up unfortunately getting run over by Cody. Unfortunately, my hand was the first thing to get hit by his wheel, so it kind of yanked it down a little bit too hard and it ripped the bone in half. So had to get it realigned, had to get 2 pins put into it so that it could stay stable during the recovery. And unfortunately, we had to miss this weekend because it just, wasn't the best call to go out and ride with this injury. So we're gonna heal up. It'll be good the week of Brainerd, then we'll go push there.
Well, heal quickly and we'll see you out there.
Thank you.
Good to see a smile on his face. And how about this guy, David Colstead? He is one of our young racers that is really making a name for himself in MotoAmerica.
Robbie Floyd and Roger Hayden here with you as we take a look at Max Van. We saw David Colstad going to break there, but I think Max Van's going to be one of the ones to watch trying to get up on that podium. And I've talked about before through the year how he's kind of been progressing and putting himself in a situation to be up front. Now we're seeing him start up near the front, Roger.
Yeah, that's going to be huge for him. We've seen him all year just getting closer and closer to the front guys. So now he's going to hopefully get a good start and, fourth on the grid and be able to go with those guys and, have a really solid race. I know he's having a good race last, race 2 at the last round in Washington and had that crash. But he's a guy that's starting to come on strong.
Let's talk about Ben Glotti. He can't let points slip away, and he's seeing, the times kind of pull away with Ty Scott. But he closed it up there at the end in that last qualifier. It looked like, okay, now we can have a competitive race. A quarter of a second, put it in race trim. He just can't let Ty Scott get away from him.
That's going to be the biggest thing, just hopefully he can get a good start and not let Tyler Scott, get away. Tyler's got a lot of pace. He's been fast since his first couple laps, even though he doesn't have, hardly any laps at this track. So for him, he's going to have to get a really good start and latch on to Tyler Scott because that Tyler Scott's going to try to get away the first couple laps.
Cody Wyman, another guy to look for. He's going to start 7th, so that's a third-row start. Not where he wanted to be on the start, but this is a track if, you get a decent run, maybe get one guy on the beginning and just keep picking them off. This is a place you can make some passes.
Yeah, just focus really hard on getting a good start and maybe make a couple passes in the turn 2.
Let's get ready. The SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior's coming up with Tyler Scott on pole, Ben Glotti next to him, David Colstad next to him.
Getting closer to the start of the SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup race number 1 from WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. And before the break, you saw that incident, Max Toth and Cody Wyman. We got to hear Max's side of it, but we sent Hannah down to talk to Cody Wyman to find out his version of what happened in that horrific crash.
Greg, last round at the Ridge during race 2, there was a bit of a racing incident. One of the riders involved was Cody Wyman. Cody, tell me from your perspective a little bit about what you saw happening out there.
Yeah, I'm really just happy it wasn't bigger than it was. Happened pretty quick, and I just tried to get it straight up and down, and luckily he's all right. Luckily I kept it up and just tried to refocus. Now I'm here, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, track I really enjoy. I can't wait to get battling and try to be up front here.
You've got a lot of laps here in a variety of different vehicles. Do you think that that'll play to your advantage in the class this weekend?
Yeah, I've done a lot of coaching here, a lot of data review. Not as much track time as I'd like, but love this place. Happy to be here, ready to put it on the podium.
Best of luck out there. Thanks, Cody. Greg?
All right. Thanks, Hannah. Now, Jason, kind of looking at Cody's demeanor, thinking about the incident from 2 weeks ago, what's your take on the whole situation?
You could kind of tell he didn't want to talk about it too much, kind of put it behind him. I think that lap that he did after he came around and saw that Max was actually up and okay was probably the best thing that could have been for him, because you could tell that the worry immediately when it happened was worrying about how Max was. But when you come around that following lap and you see him up and okay, and there really wasn't even yellow flags at that point, he was already clear of the incident, that had to give him a little bit of confidence that Max wasn't any more hurt than he was.
Yeah, I'm sure it was just a difficult lap to get around, to come back to that spot and
Absolutely.
then get that big sigh of relief. Well, listen, Cody talked about WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca and how much he loves it. So, Jason, why don't we take a look at this track, because it's absolutely legendary.
Yeah, it is legendary, Greg. These small bikes are going to go up over the top of turn 1. You'll see some drafting down this front straightaway, then they'll pan out for turn 2. A lot of passing down there. Only corners that are really flat here, we got turns 3, 4, and 11. They're really the only flat corners. All the way up from turn 6, we're heading up to that legendary corkscrew in turn 8, down to Rainy Curve in 9. Turn 10's really banked, and we'll see a lot of action in 11 there, especially as the race goes. A lot of passing down there on their run down to the checkered flag.
Should promote some great racing for these smaller displacement motorcycles. Gus Rodeo looking to get back on the top step of the podium. Can he do it?
Gus Rodeo, a race winner, but also Ty Scott trying to win this race. And you see the 70 there going to start on pole. One thing, I got to talk with Chris Fillmore, who's basically runs the race program here in the U.S. for KTM. And Chris will tell me a little bit more about that bike, because they're the only KTM we see in our field. And in talking to Ty's dad, this is a kit motorcycle. It's a bike you can buy off the showroom floor, and they've already got a kit, a race kit built for it. You bolt it on, and Chris was telling me, like the washer stacks and things like that with the suspension, you can adjust to your liking. But this is something that can be bought literally on the showroom floor, and he said it wound up being cheaper than maybe some guy trying to build this Kawasaki Yamaha having to go this piece, this piece, this piece. And Chris Fillmore, of all people, was one of the riders that helped develop that kit in conjunction with the guy that's in charge of KTM's MotoGP program right now.
And I mean, you'll see next year there will be more KTMs in the grid, because of seeing this with Tyler Scott, and all that's going to do is give them more support. There's going to be more support from KTM in the Junior Cup class next year, and now KTM's really starting to kind of help Tyler Scott, because they know him doing well is going to sell bikes.
That's what it's for, right? I mean, if you get help from Kawasaki, whether you're Ben Glotti, you might get some love, or Rocco Landers of the year. You show them what this bike can do. Ty Scott's doing just that with this bike. Now, is that bike faster than all the others, or is it Ty Scott? He's the only one, so we have no idea, because we know he's fast. Is that bike have a competitive advantage? Not positive on that yet.
They look really even,
Yes.
Watching him in all the races. They both have their strong and weak points, but I think the biggest thing is just Tyler Scott's riding really well.
I think it is. We've heard the name. Now we're seeing the results here in MotoAmerica. SportbikeTrackGear.com Juniors coming up right now.
Today's STG Junior Cup coverage is sponsored by Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance. By SportbikeTrackGear.com, the motorcycle apparel and parts specialists. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Beautiful day, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for a race. Jason, new track record for Tyler Scott at a 36.546 for pole.
Yeah, and he's done a lot of those fast laps next to Glotti there in second. Colstead, great qualifying for him in third. Max Van, Blake Davis, and Gus Rodeo round out row number 2. A little bit further back, Cody Wyman, Jack Roach, Hayden Bickness, Kayla Yukov, Aiden Thau, and Chase Black are going to be there on row 4. A little further back, Owen Williams, Cressup, Essman, and then a little further Behind them guys on row 6 is Ricci and Gower, row 6. So when I looked at and started, was really watching this weekend, the KTM is fast, Greg. He's riding so well, and he's done a lot of these fast lap times, not just one of them.
Yeah, the KTMs really seem to be dialed in this weekend. Tyler Scott came first time visit here and was nearly on track record pace in the very first session. SportbikeTrackGear.com, Junior Cup race number 1. Revs are up, clutches are out. Oh, a little front wheel action for your pole sitter, but he got away really well. Is a 70. Tyler Scott is ahead off into turn number 2.
Yeah, that's bad news for these guys. I think that the only way they're really going to be able to get near him, I think, is to get him a little bit roughed up. And by that, I mean just show him some wheels, try to get by him, try to squeeze by him. If you give him clear track, he just looks so solid here. And we've seen this with people that come to Laguna Seca sometimes. They just gel with it immediately. And Ty Scott just looked like he did that from first session on. Much to your point, like you said, Greg, he was almost on lap record pace in that first session. So, but Glotti and Colstead have gone after him here early. As you can see, that gap was kind of big through the middle of turn 2. And now Glotti's doing exactly what he needs to do. He tried to get up underneath him there, wasn't able to make it. These 3 guys are just ahead of Cody Wyman, who is there in 4th now.
Turn number 6 for the first time. Very tricky corner. A lot of camber, and you got to get on it. You can hear the way the bikes are working through there. Glotti already would look over his shoulder, almost like he's planning a move to attack somewhere and wants to make sure he can do it cleanly, but he's got to get close enough to do it.
That's exactly right. More than anything, he wants to make sure he's not going to get attacked if he tries to do something and get countered and pushed even further back. That's why you saw him have a look over his shoulder, but he's got to keep all eyes forward right now. He can look at his pit board in a couple laps. What he needs to try to think about is staying glued to the back of that orange bike in front of him, a KTM of Ty Scott, as they come around here to complete lap number 1. A little further back, it looks like it's been a great start for Blake Davis, as you see him there in 4th place, just ahead of Wyman. It looks like Max Van, Jack Roach, Gus Rodeo's in there, the big knees, number 69, and then just behind them, looking like rounding out the top 10, would have been Aiden Thau.
What a ride also for the 29 of David Colstead out of Washington on that Veloce Racing Kawasaki Ninja 400. So battle starting to form up. Beginning of race number 2. Jason, did you see when Tyler Scott went through the corkscrew that first lap, him throw a wheel in the air, like a little wheelie into the corkscrew? That was something special.
In between?
Yeah, and that's where he got a little bit of a gap. So Tyler Scott looking at the corkscrew maybe a different way than some of these other racers.
Looks like something happened to Cody Wyman here, because he's been shuffled back a little bit here, Greg, so not sure exactly what happened to the 34. We saw him running 4th early, and now he's gotten shuffled back. In fact, it looks like Max Van has gotten through as well. He's done a really nice job. Has the 48. He's got himself up into 4th, so some things must have happened down maybe in turn 2 or 3. A couple of the guys like Blake Davis that we saw cross the line in 4th place that last lap by. It looks like he's somewhat back in 6th. Here's that little situation you're talking about coming up over the top of that hill. I think on these little bikes, Greg, they're on the gas pretty hard at the top of it, and they're making a transition change from that left to right. But Glotti done a tremendous job of not letting the number 70 get away. In fact, Glotti on this one here, he's got a couple purple sectors showing up on our screen, which means it's obviously a very fast lap for him so far.
Onto the front straightaway, Ben Glotti looking good right now, Hannah.
Greg, yesterday I talked to him. He was trying to find some more time, really fighting with bike setup. Practice this morning felt much better. They made some small adjustments to ride height and a little stiffer in the rear to really help him get to the apex and back on the throttle to finish the corners much better than he was yesterday. He thinks he has the bike and the riding capability to pull off a win. He knows points are close, though. Only 2 separating him from Tyler Scott, so he's not willing to throw away the championship fight just for a win. He wants to salvage as many points possible, but a victory would be a fantastic way to do it.
Yeah, it definitely would, and what a mature way to approach it from the 15-year-old Ben Glotti, who's trying to chase down the 16-year-old Tyler Scott. And there is the 29 of David Colstad, 17 years old. Colstad has definitely been coming on strong this year, Jason.
Yep.
And he is leading the way in 3rd spot as the rest of the field trying to find their way onto the podium behind him.
Coming off a couple of podiums after we saw Colstead a little bit further back at Road America than I thought we would see him, but he gets to his home race up at the Ridge a couple of weeks ago, puts it on the podium twice there. Rodeo gets a really nice run on Max Van as they come up into the corkscrew. You can see the 96 really went through turn 6 very well. But back to Colstead, it's good to see him get that bike up onto the front row. He saw his teammate win up there and then get injured at the Ridge. And so Colstead now trying to run the banner for that Veloci team as he's running third. Rodeo looks very dangerous here right now, coming up from behind and closing in on him pretty quickly on this lap.
The 96 is Gus Rodeo on the Rodeo Racing Kawasaki Ninja. Rodeo, a race winner earlier on in the season. Jason, we've had 5 race winners. Those riders are in top 6 in points. The only rider in the top 6 in points that hasn't won a race is the 29 of Colstead. And Colstad loses the position to Rodeo as they come down into turn number 2. Rodeo will take over third spot. Up front, Tyler Scott on the Scott Power Sports KTM. That's the fastest lap of the race.
Now only just, though.
Yeah.
Only just, because Glotti also matched that with a 36.9, just a tiny bit slower of one. But this battle back here for third is the one we're watching as we see Rodeo has, like you say, Greg, made his way through on that front straightaway. Colstead gets a really nice run out of turn 4 on him this time, though, and he's going to take that position back as they sit up and break for turn 5. And you can see Blake Davis there just behind these two, slides himself underneath Max Van. Let's see if Max Van can turn it back up underneath. He can't, so he's going to follow him in there. Jack Roach, good to see Jack Roach in this little battle for the podium as well. We've been waiting to see that number 12 Westby Racing R3 get in the mix for this podium spots as well this year. So right now we've got a few new guys, and you can see Kyle Wyman just behind them, and Rodeo goes back past as they go through turn 6 and up that hill. So just in this span of the last lap, we see where Rodeo is strong, which is turn 6 and up the hill. We see where Colstead is strong, which is out of turn 4 headed down towards turn 5. And the guys behind them are just hoping that these two keep engaging so that it allows them to stay close. Colstead, really nice run out of turn 10. He's going to pull up alongside Rodeo as they go into turn 11. Blake Davis on the 22 is watching it all from the first seat.
David Colstead doing a great job, Hannah.
He is, Greg, and he told me today the plan is to go full tilt boogie. He wanted to get a good start and hold on to Tyler and Ben as best as he could. He normally starts farther back. He's more of a racer and not a starter, but the most interesting thing for me this weekend for him is he's running double duty. He's racing in our Super Hooligans race and was actually the defending champion for Super Hooligans last year. So switching back and forth between the two bikes has just really made him feel a little bit stronger, a little bit more prepared. He's got more seat time, so he's really able to kind of add all of those factors together and put it into play for a good battle.
And riders starting to get shuffled now as all of a sudden we have a change in position for third spot as the 22 of Blake Davis on the N2 Racing. It's a Yamaha R3 moves his way into third.
It is, and you can see Cody Wyman has now got himself back into this mix as well. So these guys are just going to continue to go back and forth. We've been talking about Max Van, trying to see if we can get him on the podium this year too. Both of these riders that you see here, I don't believe have been on the podium yet this year, Greg. So when you see what's going on, Colstead and Rodeo kind of pulled these guys all along. These two guys go by. Now Cody Wyman's going to be looking to line these guys up as Colstead goes up underneath Max Van into the corkscrew. Loses a little tiny bit of time coming down, but not much. As you can see, he's going to stick back onto the back of the 22. So we got a big battle here for this final podium spot.
Up front, Tyler Scott, fastest lap of the race last time by to 36.651. Still with 0.6 of a second lead over Benjamin Glotti, who went 36.7, and those riders still working on fastest lap of the race as Ben Glotti now goes 36.57, and that gap is still a half a second as we're looking at this battle for third spot.
Really
how
good
this
move.
whole thing's going to sort itself out.
Great move there by Jack Roach as he rode around the outside of Cody Wyman down into turn 11 to get that number 12 bike up in another position. And these two guys are finding themselves, Colstead and Gus Rodeo, trying to get themselves back to the front of this group. Davis isn't going to let Colstead go up underneath him into turn 2 there.
Yeah, looking at Jack Roach on that number 12 Westby Racing Yamaha, a motorcycle which I got to test at Brainerd International Raceway a couple of weeks ago. As
we don't have any video footage of you on that R3, do we?
We do.
We got video? Need to see this.
Colstead up the inside. This race is turning out to be a humdinger.
He runs a little bit wide, didn't he, Greg? Yeah, ran a little wide.
Missed a shift,
right.
got maybe an upshift. Didn't get the drive, so all of a sudden, just like that, So incredibly important on these smaller displacement motorcycles and lower horsepower to make sure that everything is just dialed in. That's the battle for third. Oh, back up front we go. And we can see Tyler Scott and Ben Glotti, Jason, as we look at our split times, they are still out there setting fastest split times in different sectors and fastest personal split times. Let's get to Hannah. Tyler Scott.
Well, Greg, for those who may not know, Tyler Scott is a rookie in this class this season, so a lot of these tracks are unfamiliar to him. He hasn't been to many of them on our schedule, which he's kind of at a disadvantage over some of the racers who've been in the class for quite a while. I asked him, how do you prepare to go to these different tracks? And he said, you know, he focuses a lot between the rounds on training. After the ridge, he taught himself how to surf. He went longboarding. He's really big into mountain biking. But most importantly, he was able to get here last week for a test and turn a lot of laps, work on gearing, work on setup. So by the time he got here this weekend, he was feeling fit. He had an idea of what the bike was going to do and could just go from there.
Yeah, quite an interesting story when he ended up getting hooked up with a surf shop and someone there and decided surfing is the way to go. So Tyler Scott leading the way, and by the way, he just broke the track record. He is in command of this race right now. A 136.357. Jason, a couple tenths of a second quicker than he went in qualifying. And that's what we see out of this SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup class.
But Ben Glotti did the exact same thing. He went 36.4, and he actually looks like he's closing in on this lap as we see purple on our board again as we're looking back to turn 6. This is how big of a gap these guys have. That's what almost 11 seconds looks like. This battle for third as it comes up out of the hill, out of turn 6. Those two guys up in front are pushing each other so hard. Gus Rodeoed with another tremendous drive up the hill. As you can see, Colstad has got himself back up into that position. He was in deep. And he gets it through there, and Rodeoed does a good job as well. Max Van now trying to ride around the outside. Not going to happen there through Rainy Corner. But Colstead, last time we saw him, had missed a gear into turn 5 and shuffled back. He got himself back to the front of this group quickly.
And that last shot we had, you can see the sensation of speed. So the 29 is David Colstad of Veloce Racing. Entry 96 is Gus Rodeo. Then you have Max Van, SportbikeTrackGear.com sponsored. The 22 is Blake Davis on that N2 Racing. Then 34 is Kyle Wyman in the mix on the Kermoto Madden Painting Kawasaki. Sorry, Cody Wyman. And then you have Jack Roach back there on the 12 on the JR12 Westby Racing Yamaha R3, who's starting to lose touch ever so slightly, but that could change in a heartbeat.
I don't think he's going to lose that much touch because these guys are going to continue to battle. You see Max Van now gets himself up into that 4th place position just behind Colstead, who looks like he's actually trying to make a little bit of a break right now. Looking at our timing, he's the only guy in the 25s in that first split as Aiden Thau has gone off the track, the 55 getting back on. Looks like that was probably down and around the exit of turn 2. So Thau is off the track, back on. Didn't tip over, it didn't look like, but he's just got back on the track. He's between turn 3 and 4. And Glotti now has made that pass as he went 36.7 the last lap by, Greg. He has stayed there, stayed as patient as you could trying to run these lap times. And the 72 finds himself at the front with about 5.5 laps to go.
All of a sudden, it is a fierce battle up top. The 72 of Benjamin Glotti on the Landers Racing Kawasaki Ninja 400 makes his move at the corkscrew and leads us onto the front straightaway. There'll be 5 laps to go in this one. We'll see if Tyler Scott has an answer.
I think Tyler Scott, you know, the thing is as young as he is, he's still very seasoned. He's going to sit and watch and kind of maybe follow the 72 for a lap or so. We'll have a look. As you can see, Glotti set that pass up early as they went down down into the corkscrew there, up that big steep hill. And as they came down through the corkscrew, just straight lines it and ends up running a 36.6. So they're still in and around qualifying times. I think Ty Scott's going to sit there and just kind of see where Ben Glotti is good now. It's his turn to kind of go to school and see where this Kawasaki works well.
Track record pace for SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup. I mentioned this earlier, Jason. We see this oftentimes with racing because when you have a yardstick in front of you in this class, these racers continue to get quicker and quicker. And in this class, it's also part of a budget kind of a class, to keep the cost down for these racers. So no special tires in qualifying. They just use race tires in qualifying. Tyler Scott with a good drive. Side by side they go. He'll take over the lead heading to the corkscrew. Is Glotti going to let him have it? Yeah, so no big, bold moves at the top of the corkscrew. He'll head down. the steep drop, and all of a sudden, Tyler Scott with the bit between his teeth. Maybe he's seen enough, Jay.
Well, he got a really good run there out of turn 6, and it's a big steep uphill. And, you know, you could see that he was able to just kind of sneak back up underneath Ben Glotti. Glotti has a look as they come down into turn 11. I'm just astounded at the pace that they're running right now. Both these guys, 36.6 the last time through. Looks like this lap time is probably going to have them both in the 37s. Let's have a look, Greg. 36.9 for Scott that time. Ben Glotti in the draft as they come up over the top of the hill and go down into turn number 2. Not quite close enough.
And this is championship we're talking about here. Tyler Scott only leads Ben Glotti by 2 points in this championship, so these two are going after it. There's no conservative look at the championship right now. The way it finishes, if it finished like this right now, Jay, it'd be a 7-point lead for Scott. If Ben Glotti can get around, he'd retake the championship and have a 3-point lead heading into tomorrow.
You can see how hard Glotti is pushing as he's now having a look as they come down into turn 5. He's going to make this pass. He does. 72 goes underneath Ty Scott as they head up the hill towards turn 6. Now we're going to have a look and see, does Ty Scott have that same momentum again? Does he get up underneath him going into 6?
Oh, what a bold move that is. Especially for someone who doesn't have a ton of track time here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. A lot of confidence in the traction for Tyler Scott in that KTM. Top of the corkscrew. And Ben Glotti not going to attack on this one. Ooh. And it's a bit of movement for Scott coming down the hill through Rainey as he gets set up. Also, Jason, off in the distance, I can see some lap traffic. So Tyler Scott leading from Benjamin Glotti at the moment. Into the final corner we go. Eyes on the 70 who leads this race over the 72. Lap traffic onto the straightaway. Scott trying to get a draft. So is Ben Glotti. Landers team cheering on Glotti. He'll fall right back into line. We hear Max Van is down in the corkscrew. The 48 Van out of 5th place last time across the line.
It's a bad spot, too, that is. The bike has slid down to the inside. Looks like it's just far enough away that there shouldn't be any problem. There'll be yellow flags. Our corner workers are out there going to try to get this bike out of the way. You can see they're just going to get this bike. Once they get that bike picked up, they should be able to roll it down from that position now.
All right, so they're trying to clean that.
Let's see what happens here. He's going to lose the front right over the curbing. Yeah, he loses the front. That's going to send the bike down. I wouldn't be surprised if that separated that group a little bit. Those 3 guys, nope, they were able to get through it, looks like. So what a bummer for Max. And you can see they're trying to get that bike a little bit further down the hill, so it's not going to become a problem. Cody Wyman does a nice job there staying off it. But now you start wondering when you're behind that, you start thinking, is this bike going to come and clean me out? But gets a little bit airborne.
Yeah, and you can see it looks like it's breaking some levers, so not rideable as corner workers continue to try to get this.
Going to put a lot of gravel all over the track, though. That's what that did right there. It put a lot of gravel on the track when they come down. Back to the front, Greg. These guys, when they come by this time, they're going to see 2 laps to go. And they've been studying each other this whole entire race. They've got 17 seconds over the battle for 3rd.
Glotti with a bit of a mistake going in there. More riders.
Davis.
So the 22 down. So when push comes to shove, riders starting to make mistakes and throwing it down the road late in this race. Not something we normally see here in SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup.
That looks like turn 6 maybe. I couldn't tell exactly, but that looked like it was maybe in turn 6. These guys, though, 37.1s the last time by, so they're still operating within a half a second of what the actual qualifying times. We've actually seen them go faster than qualifying, but they're still locked in. We'll have to keep an eye out and see if that yellow flag comes out there or see if it's up in the turn 6 area.
Jason, in Ben Glotti's short career, how many times have we seen the 15-year-old finish in second spot? Right, like that? Yeah. He has 2 wins this year, but the amount of second places he's had, as Ben Glotti, I thought he was going as well. We know that Ben Glotti is thinking about the championship. We heard it earlier in the broadcast. But I just think at this point, Ben Glotti's got to make a statement if he's this close. He's going to do something. A lap and a half to go. Jason, if you're the 72, where are you making your move?
Well, I'll tell you right now, the KTM is strong up that hill, Greg. It doesn't look like he's able to get close enough to him up here. He's going to do something now, maybe down into turn 2. He's going to have to get creative, maybe from 9 to 10, from Rainy Corner down to turn 10 where they're coming right now. But right now, Ty Scott's opened that gap, hasn't he? I mean, that's a good 3/4 tenths of a second. It's going to be hard for him to do anything, obviously, from that far back. So he's got to set himself up nicely here for this last lap.
As we head to the final corner on the racetrack, we're going to take the white flag. And Ben Glotti, if he's got a shot at taking a shot for this race win, he's got to put together a perfect lap.
And the hardest thing is for us when we're calling these races, we see these young men and women, they're growing up as they go. And Ben Glotti, when we saw him on the podium the first few times, that smile and how happy he is. But when you start seeing him finish in second and third now, he's not as happy. And, you know, these guys want to win. Once you taste taste of victory the first time, you want to continue to do it. Now, we have seen him get a good run out of turn 4. They're in 3 now. He gets a good run out of 4. He might be able to do something with Ty Scott into turn 5. We've seen him try to make that move before. So let's see how he gets through here. And if he can get through here cleanly and get in the draft, but again, Greg, it just doesn't, is he close enough? He's trying to get there.
He's got a bike length, so, but you can see that Scott is working the track. He goes, protects the inside line. And this is where the KTM starts to get really strong. In the drive up the hill, they're heading towards turn number 6, the left-hander that dips in. Glotti's close, but now Scott got a good run up the hill. So the corkscrew is a place that you could attack, but he's not going to be close enough, is the 72 of Glotti.
He's got to make up just enough distance up here where he doesn't make any mistakes. Like close the gap down and get down through here as good as you can, and then try to do something in 11. You can see he's kind of trying his best. Scott's really strong down through here. Now they're coming out of Rainy Corner down into turn 10. He just isn't quite there.
Is it going to be a Hail Mary move for Ben Glotti? He's about 8 bike lengths behind. Scott looks over his shoulder on the brakes into the final corner, final lap, final turn. Here we go. It's the drag race to the checkered flag. Scott has this one in hand. Glotti is in the draft. He's trying to find something, but here comes the checkered flag. Not enough time, not enough room. Tyler Scott will take victory by 0.2 of a second over Ben Glotti. And that battle for third. Wow. Here comes David Colstead with a great run around the outside. Into the final corner he goes. They're side by side through the final corner. But it looks like Colstead pushes the 96 Gus Rodeo wide. He's in a tuck. Is there any time to pull out of the draft? To the line we go. Pulls out of the draft, and it's going to be Colstead by 42 thousandths of a second.
And Cody Wyman ends up just getting past Jack Roach. Good run from Jack Roach today, ending up 6th. That's season best. He had 5th when they came out of there, ends up 6th. A little further back now, we're waiting for Hayden Bakeness to come across, but Ty Scott and Ben Glotti, both these guys, I mean, Greg, we very rarely do we see the top 2 guys 23 seconds out ahead, and you can see here that these 2 guys, look at the lap times that they ran, 36s for the majority of that race, and going 36.3, 3/10 quicker than they qualified. You can see here Colstad got into turn 11 up underneath Rodeo and ran the bike out wide. Rodeo didn't have anywhere to go. He did his best to try to draft him before the line, and look just behind them. Same thing was going on just behind them between Wyman and Roach.
There's a look at third place, the final spot on the podium, and the difference just about a bike length. So Jay, on these, you know, smaller displacement motorcycles, not much you can do when you come onto the front straightaway if you're behind. When we return, we're going to talk to Tyler Scott about how his race went. You don't want to miss that.
Robbie Floyd and Roger Hayden here with you during our break while the guys regroup and reset next door. We can talk about Ty Scott, and that bike did work better in certain areas, especially that pull uphill.
It just looked like even the second part of the track that Tyler Scott was a little bit better from like the corkscrew to the last corner where he could get a little bit of a gap. So, you know, him being in the lead there definitely played in his favor. But great ride by him, actually, both those guys. And for Ben Glotti to really step up there in the race was a really, I mean, their last laps was almost as fast as their fastest laps of the race.
Glotti's last lap was his best lap. That last time around a 36.38, that would have been a track record minus the 36.35 that Ty Scott did as Ty pulls back into Parc Fermé and the victory podium over there. Tyler Scott took the first one of the year at Road Atlanta. He followed it up later on with Road America race number 1 victory, and then race number 2 at the Ridge. He's kind of spreading out these wins, but he takes one today, the first day of 2. Riders getting a ride back to the paddock. We saw some unfortunate incidents out there. We saw Max Van go down in the corkscrew. We saw, who else did we see?
Blake Davis.
Blake Davis. It looked like he was a little limpy on that on that left ankle as well. I hope he's okay.
Still
and there
is.
he is.
I mean, that's him right there.
There he is coming down. Not sure how he went down, but he went down. And if it was in turn 6 like Jason thought, you said there's only one way to go off, and that's big in 6.
Yeah, turn 6. That's definitely a corner you don't want to crash at because it's a really fast left. The track kind of falls away there. The front end can get really light, but he was up walking around pretty gingerly, so hopefully he'll be okay for tomorrow. And it's just a bummer for those two guys because they were both having such great rides. Max Van has been fast all weekend and had kind of the same problem last week or a couple weeks ago at the Ridge. So he's getting faster, just making a couple mistakes. But that's a cool thing about having 2 races. They can come back tomorrow and try again.
DK29 David Colstad finishes on the podium in 3rd. His best finish this year was that 2nd place at Virginia. But, I mean, look at that. 1, 2, 3. This is his 4th 3rd place. We talk about all the 2nd place for Glotti. It seems like Colstad finishing consistently in that 3rd place spot as well. See Hanalopa down there. She's getting ready for the interview with Ty Scott. Impressed by both of those guys in front. And they alluded to it, and you kind of alluded to it. 24 seconds between 1st and 3rd. That was an eternity. Those first 2 guys out front were gone.
And we don't really see that often in
right.
Junior Cup, having such a big gap. But, I mean, when you just see how fast these guys are going, I mean, they were lap record, track, and race record every single lap, and they just, not only didn't battle a lot either and slow each other down. All the passes were pretty early, and they checked out.
Gus Rodeo had a shot at the podium. Cody Wyman, Jack Roach, they were all in the mix for a majority of that race. Good job by Hayden Bigness finishing 7th. Also Williams in 8th. Kayla Yakov, as we have a freestyle demonstration going on out there. It looks like some. I don't know the riders. I may be able to identify some of those guys. But Yakov, again, back-to-back top 10s for her. She has a tremendous start to her MotoAmerica career. But how about the MotoAmerica races that we're seeing out of Ty Scott? Another victory. Let's send it back over to the crew next.
Today's Junior Cup race coverage has been sponsored by Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
The results for race number 1 of the SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup has Tyler Scott with a 0.2 of a second win over Ben Glotti. What a race. David Colstead, Gus Rodeo, Cody, and Jack Roach. Let's get right down to Hannah in the winner's circle.
Greg, for Tyler Scott, this marks his 4th victory of the season. Tyler, with this being a newer track for you, not so much lap time here, how were you able to ride defensively and protect your position without giving up any time?
Just a little bit. I knew where he was a bit faster, and I knew I had to protect those areas towards the end. But big thanks to KTM, Arai Helmets, Bob Robbins, Dale Quarterly, everyone that helped me, the whole team, Muffin Man, my mom watching from home. But yeah, it was a really good race, definitely a hot one. He definitely put up a really good fight, but at the end, I just seemed to edge him out.
Now, when he passed you for that period of time, was there anything that you saw that you can take into tomorrow's race that'll work to your advantage?
Yeah, a little bit with the bike setup to work on, but I kind of found his weaknesses, and I knew where I needed to push in the last lap.
All right, congratulations. 4 wins for Tyler Scott.
Tyler Scott going to school on Ben Glotti, only really, Jay, for what? Not even a full lap.
Yeah, it was just enough to see. As you can see, he followed him down here through the corkscrew, and I believe it was the next lap he went by into turn 6. Let's get back down to Hannah.
2nd place today goes to Benjamin Glotti. You were putting pressure on Tyler Scott all race long, making some pretty bold moves there. Is there anything that you wish you could have done differently today?
I wanted to be a little closer going into the last corner, but I wasn't able to, get a good drive out of turn 10, and I tried to set him up for the drive on the exit, but I just wasn't able to do it. He rode awesome. The team gave me a great bike. I wouldn't have been able to do it without my whole Landers Racing crew, Taro, my mechanic, Arai Helmets, MotoAmerica for putting events on, Dunlop, Freedom Cycle, the Big S, my stepdad Keith, my parents. Just thank you, everybody.
Congrats, Ben. Guys.
Nice to see a smile on his face after a hard-fought 2nd place.
Yeah, and he's just got to keep grinding the way he did. I mean, he's riding amazing. Both these guys are riding amazing, as you can see, just by the distance that they were kind of able to put on the rest of the field. So just got to keep his head up, keep grinding. A lot of races left to go this season.
Let's get down to Hannah with our 3rd place finisher who fought that one hard.
David Colstead, a hard-fought battle to the finish. You are right, Greg. What was the strategy there the last couple laps, especially those last couple turns? You had Gus Rodeo right in front of you.
Yeah, Gus was giving me no time to breathe, and I made a mistake, and I didn't want to get a penalty, so I just kind of slowed up. I was really upset because I was like, man, Gus is on his A game right now. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And that corner where I made the pass, I just left it open and hoped there was some run there, not just dirt. But I couldn't have done it without my Veloce team. Arai helmets, Olin suspension, two-wheel dyno works, EBC brakes, Incentive Solutions, Cap It, and Cycle Tune, and my whole team. Everyone, the bike's working great. I think the only thing that's going to make me go faster is me just pushing harder. Other than that, I felt like it was a great race.
Congrats, David. Thanks.
With the win, Tyler Scott, 7 now over Ben Glotti. And you can see Cody Wyman and Gus Rodeo pretty close as well. So we have a serious championship halfway through the season. Well, that'll do it for us from WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for SportbikeTrackGear.com. Race number 1. Race 2 coming up.